All right, let's get started. Hello, everyone. I hope you all had a great or are having a great weekend so far. Before we get started on today's session, did anyone have any questions specifically for me? I know I wasn't there last weekend, but if there was something that the sub might have went over with you guys that you would want to follow up with me please let me know now. No? All right then. As usual, we will get started with our recommended author and book of the day before we get to some of the typical tasks that we do that are heavily focused on SAT prep. But let's take a look at Mitch album. So let's take turns reading. So Alex, can you please read this slide for us?
Mitch Albom is an American author, journalist, screenwriter, and philanthropist, best known for his inspirational books that often explore themes of mortality, faith, and the human spirit. Born on May 23rd, 1958, in Passaic, New Jersey, Albom began his career as a sports journalist before gaining worldwide recognition with his memoir Tuesday with Morrie 1997, which became a bestseller and was later adapted into a TV film. He had since authored several other successful books, both fiction and nonfiction, including The Five People You Meet in Heaven and Have a Little Faith. Beyond writing, Album is actively involved in charitable work, running several organizations and a faith-based mission in Haiti. His compassionate storytelling and life-affirming messages continue to resonate with readers across the globe.
Awesome. Thank you so much. So now understanding a little bit on the author, let's get to know one of his books, Tuesdays with Maury. Has anyone heard of it? No? Awesome. So I'm glad to introduce something new. It's quite actually a popularized book, international bestseller. Let's get to know a little bit on this book. Alina, can you please read this slide for us? Sorry, Alina, if you don't mind reading this slide, if you are able to. All right, no response. So, Dora, can you please read this slide for us, if you don't mind?
This memoir recounts Albom's real-life conversations with his former college professor, Maury Schwartz, who is dying of ALS. Every Tuesday, Albon visits Maury, and together they explore life's greatest questions: love, work, death, family, and forgiveness. Through their heartfelt discussions, Maury offers timeless wisdom and perspective on what truly matters. It's a short read, but it leaves a long-lasting impression. A beautiful blend of storytelling and life lessons. It encourages readers to cherish each moment and live intentionally, perfectly in tune with today's quote.
Awesome. So, before does anyone have any questions regarding the author or book? No? So, what I like to do is provide a little passage just to get you guys seeing what kind of a story it is. And then, so I have this quote right here. Lynn, if you don't mind reading this quote for us.
Two, wait, is it?
So you start at so many.
Okay. So many people walk around with a meaningless life. They seem half asleep even when they're busy doing things they think are important. This is because they're chasing the wrong things. The way you get meaning into your life is to devote yourself to loving others, devote yourself to your community around you, and devote yourself to creating something that gives you purpose and meaning.
Thank you. So, with this quote, we understand that it reflects a lot of the central themes that you would find in this book. Living a life with intention, compassion, and purpose, which are all very important values to kind of have. So, based on the passage that we have just read above, What do you think makes a life meaningful? So what you're gonna do is just reflect on your values, your goals, maybe some role models that you would have that truly embodies this idea. So what you can also do is explore the distractions or pressures of society uh, that can pull away from the meaning, and how do you personally stay grounded? Does anyone have any questions regarding this task? No? So basically, try to write a as much as you can. Uh, See if you can do around 250 to 400 words. But what I would be looking for most is finding specific examples from your own life or observations. It should have a language that presents itself to be honest and kind of avoid cliches. And if you don't agree with this quote, I highly encourage you to challenge it. If you think that no, life is different, it's not a with intention, compassion, and purpose. I believe it to be these different values, then I encourage you guys to challenge it and provide your own three values. But if you are going to challenge it, you should also be stating clearly what makes life meaningful. All right. So if there are no further questions, I'm going to give you guys 10 minutes to write as much as you can regarding this prompt. All right. And then please submit your responses into the chat when you are done so we can edit it and go over it together. So you may get started. So you guys have 3 more minutes. All right, so time is up, but raise your hand if you would like a little extra time, like an extra maybe 4 minutes. All right. So I am seeing some hands and also some responses to the chat. I'll give you the extra 4 minutes, but if you do finish early, start submitting your work, and then I can get started with your editing. I will stop sharing, however, and then getting the document prepared. So take these few extra minutes to wrap up your final sentences. It's okay if you're not completely finished, but after the 3 minutes are up, I would like to see some work being done so I can at least give you some feedback on what you have done. So there is 1 more minute left. Please wrap up your final sentences. I highly encourage everyone to submit something so then I can give you some feedback. But if not, there's definitely more practice to come. So if you don't get a chance to complete this task, please, I encourage everyone to complete the next following. So 1 more minute. All right, time is up. So I am going to get started with the editing process. So Dora, let's take a look at yours first. So you said a meaningful life revolves around love, community, and purpose. All right, so you're challenging the idea. So if you are going to be challenging the prompt, I highly encourage you to mention that as whenever you're approaching any task, if you're challenging an idea, you should make it known. So you could say in the beginning here, I life, or because it is an opinionated task, you can start with first person. So you could say, I disregard the prompt's mention of the 3 ways to make a meaningful life. Something along those lines. Then you say a meaningful life revolves around love, community, and purpose. To me, a life filled with meaning is where connections with others are emphasized. Absolutely. It's about fostering relationship that support not only ourselves, we need a comma here, but also those around us. Actually, just to take this out, we can say it's about fostering supportive relationships. Intimate and what would be the best one here? Intimate, both intimate and broad. It's another way of like rephrasing this. My values align closely with with this perspective as I believe that acts of kindness and service uh change lives. So one thing I always encourage, Dora, is that if we're giving a perspective or an opinion, we want to sound as sure as we can. So rather than just saying it can change life, it can, we can say it changes life, like as if it's a known fact. So just so as a reader, I feel convinced. I strive to create a positive impact, whether through volunteering or simply being there for friends and family. However, society often distracts us from this path. The pressure to succeed in matters like wealth or status can lead people to chase after unattainable goals. Social media can increase this, creating distraction from genuine connections. By prioritizing love and community, I find a deeper sense of purpose and fulfillment. Being clear of the distractions that throw pull me away from what gives my life meaning. Great. So this is like a great general idea, but if once, for example, once you mention volunteering, right? What kind of volunteering? Give a specific example here. Uh, then you talk about being there for friends and family. How so? Do you lend an ear? Do you support them through acts of service? Right? Like, do you help around the house, or do you pick up your friend from school if you drive, or stuff like that. Being a little bit more specific in that mindset. Uh, in terms of this right here, the pressure to succeed in matters like wealth or status can lead people to chase after attainable goals. This is correct. This is a fine way to mention, but it sounds random uh within your text. Like, you talk about how society often distracts us from the path. I understand that this could be an example, but uh it still seems as if you like that it's just thrown in as an example. It doesn't seem like it's purposely there. If you're going to mention the pressures to succeed of wealth and status, either dive in deeper or take it out completely and then just focus on social media. But having two generally stated examples seems uh, it's just too general for this kind of response. All right, that's all the edits I have for you here, Dora. Do you have any questions?
No.
No, all right. Thank you so much. So, Alex, let's take a look at yours. So you said in Tuesdays with Maury, Maury says that meaning in life comes from loving others, being a part of the community, and creating something that reflects who you are. Oh, wait. Uh, sorry, Dora. For some reason I understood the I remember the central theme of living a life with intention, compassion, and purpose. So you didn't challenge this idea. So I'm just gonna take this out. I apologize for that. So that will take out. Okay, back to you, Alex. So I would take out in, and then we would take out just saying Maury says. We could just say Tuesdays with Maury states that the meaning of life comes from loving others, being a part of community, and creating something that reflects who you are. I think that's true. I would expand on this a little bit more. You could say all three conditions, or you could say I agree with all three conditions. Just expand a little bit more than instead of saying I think that's true. A meaningful life is not about being the most successful or the busiest. It's being the kind of person you are and the impact you have on others. To me, meaning comes from the relationships of staying true to your values. I feel most fulfilled when I'm helping someone, being there for a friend, or doing something that feels true to who I am. Doesn't have to be something big, even small acts of kindness or support can make a difference. This is what makes life feel real and important. All great. Same idea, Alex, is just expand or find at least one detailed example. For example, if you're doing small acts, how did that small act make you feel? That's the kind of details I'm looking for when explaining what creates a true meaningful life. It is easy to get caught up in the pressure of school, responsibilities, or expectations. Sometimes people chase goals just because they think they have to. Uh, I would just say some strive for uh for only the expectations given to them and not beyond. Without truly feeling the motivation. Uh, Actually, I'll just take this out. Huh. I want to say some strive for only the expectations given to them. I have felt that pressure, but I have learned to stop asking myself, why am I doing this? Is it something I care about? That helps me stay focused on what really matters. What keeps me grounded is remembering the kind of person I want to be. I want to be kind, honest, dependable, and someone who lifts others up. Awesome. This is where I find purpose, not in being perfect, but in being present and real. Awesome. In the end, a meaningful life is being yourself, doing good for others, and living in a way that reflects what you truly believe. Awesome. Great. Uh, yeah, that's all the edits I have for you, Alex. Do you have any questions?
No.
All right, so let's move on. Uh, we'll skip the quote of the day here, but let's do a reading with some multiple choice. So what we're going to do here is that on the right hand side, there is some multiple choice. Some might not in the reading, there's different slides with different multiple choice questions. So for example, questions 1 through 5 might not have questions 1 through 5 will cover the reading that you see here. Questions 6 through 9 will cover the readings that you might see here or here. And then 10 and 11 would be more so at the end. So you should be able to answer all multiple choice questions here. So while still looking at the slide. So let's take turns reading, and then I'll give you guys time to answer the multiple choice. So, Alex, can you please read the first paragraph up until without any other, well, up pretty much up until once a week.
Okay. The evil of employment of paper, I can't see that word. Pauper,
I
nurses, is dwelt upon by all who have considered the subject of workhouse management. When we consider the persons to whom such extensive power and responsibility are entrusted in the care of 50,000 sick persons in the London workhouse alone, we can hardly wonder at what is told of the result of the system. The only way in which an employment of the inmates could be successfully carried out would be under the consistent supervision of superior persons, but in the present system that is an impossibility. Efficient nurses who could gain a living in any of our hospitals would not be likely to offer themselves for a post in which it is nearly all work of the hardest kind and no pay. One of these proper nurses boldly stated that she has been 16 times in the House of Correction, and she was not ashamed of it. Of course, such labor is cheap and is desirable. It's possible to employ those who must be maintained at the cost of the parish, but in no case should they be left with the sole charge and responsibility of sick wards, as they continually are at present, without any other control than the occasional visit at the matron bestowed at the utmost once a day, in some cases only a week.
Thank you so much. Let's see. Alina, if you don't mind reading the rest for us.
Sorry, which paragraphs?
You'll start with seeing and then just go until patients in the.
Seeing how careful boards of guardians are in all matters of expense, it would have been well if the recommendation of the poor law with regard to the employment of at least one paid nurse had been a law. As it is, many workhouses are without one. That such a person would always be all we could desire. For so important a post, we could hardly hope, from what we know of the paid nurses in hospitals, but at any rate there would be a better chance of efficiency and character than in the present plan. On the 18th of May, 1865, a lady superintendent who had received a thorough training at Kaiserswerth and St. Thomas's, 12 Nightingale nurses from St. Thomas's, 18 probationers, and 52 of the old pauper nurses were placed in charge of the patients in the.
Awesome. Thank you so much. So I'm going to give you guys 5 minutes to complete this multiple choice and then we'll move on. Please privately send me your answers once you are done. So you guys have one more minute. And just so to give you guys context, this type of reading and multiple choice is something typically that you would be seeing on the SATs for those who are wondering. All right, time is up. Please submit your responses. I am going to be moving on to the next slide. So, with questions 6, 7, 8, and 9, some of them will be related to the same passage that we have read. Some of them might be related to the next slide, which we have here. So, answer, I believe questions 6, just question 6. Question 7, 8, and 9 is something you will be finding the answer to in the next slide. So just take this a quick minute to answer question number 6 before we move on. So take this time to submit your answers for question number 6. I will be moving on in the next couple of seconds. All right. So I'm going to be switching the slide in 3, 2, 1. Okay. So here, this is majority of it would be passage 2. So we're gonna take this time now to read what we have here, which is basically charge of the patients in the male wards of the workhouse infirmary. So we're gonna continue reading. So Dora, can you please start with the exception and read up until let's see. Read up until medical records on after line 70.
With the exception of the failure of the nurses taken from the pauper class, the first year's trial was sufficiently successful to induce a continuance of the experiment. It was impossible, however, to judge the result by statistics. None that were available could be considered as an evidence of success or failure for several reasons. The season was very unhealthy, and to relieve the pressure on the space and resources of the hospital, steps were taken to treat slight cases outside. The endeavor to limit the admission to serious cases would of course affect the returns, both as regards the time taken increasing and the proportions of deaths. Even had there been no exceptional disturbing element, there is a defect in the statistics of workhouse hospitals which affects all inferences from them. In the absence of any careful classified list of cases kept by the medical officers, such as might fairly enable one to form a judgment from mere statistical tables. These then are not reliable as means of judgment unless extending over a long period. The character, seasons, and nature of cases admitted varies so much from year to year as to invalidate any deductions unless founded on minutely kept medical records.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And then Lynn, if you don't mind finishing up the rest for us.
Where are we starting?
So you'll be starting at the following.
The following extracts, however, from the reports of the governor and the surgical and medical officers of the workhouse bear decisive witness to the value of the new system, especially as contrasted with the old system, which in 1865 to 66 still prevailed in the female wards. All of these reports bear empathetic testimony to the murderous and devotion of the lady superintendent and her staff. The medical men, it is noteworthy, speak strongly of the better discipline and far greater obedience to their orders observable when the trained nurses are employed. A point the most important because it is that on which, before experience has reassured them, medical and other authorities have often been most doubtful.
Awesome. So take this time to answer questions 7 through 9. And then we do have 10 and 11, which is going to be regarding passage 1 as well. But it's more of so your general understanding of the two passage rather than specific examples. So, but anyways, yes, I'll give you guys 4 minutes to complete 7 through 9, and then we'll move on to do questions 10 and 11. All right, so may get started. One more minute. Take this time to submit what you can, but in the next minute, we will be moving on to questions 10 and 11. All right, time is up. Please submit your responses. I am going to be moving the slide in 3, 2, 1. All right, so please complete questions 10 and 11. If you do need for me to quickly move to passage number 1, please let me know. I can definitely do that for you. But take a look at the questions first, just to make sure that you know what you're looking for when I do change the slides, if needed. So take this time, maybe 3 minutes to complete both, and then we will take up the answers. Okay, so 1 more minute. Please start submitting your responses for questions 10 and 11 before we start taking it up. All right, time is up. Please start submitting your responses if you have not done so already. I am going to change the slide in 3, 2, 1. All right, so the answer key is right here. So questions 1 is D, 2 is C, 3 is A, 4 is D, 5 is D, 6 is A, 7 is B, 8 is C, 9 is C, 10 is B, and 11 is A. Is there any specific questions that someone would like for me to go over? For example, would anyone like me to go over 10 or 11, 6 through 9? No, we're all clear? All right. So let's move on to some writing. So with this types of tasks, again, this is something that you typically do see on the SAT, where we would take a look at a body of work and we would need to make sure that grammatically and its fluency is correct. So what we have here in questions 1 through 3 is you're going to take a look at the underlined word, underlined phrase or word or whatever it may be, and see if it is in its correct form. If it's in its correct form, you would choose no change. However, if you do believe that the form needs to be changed, then choose the following multiple choice. In this case, B, C, or D. All right, so no need for us to be reading it. Just take this time to edit or select your multiple choice questions, and then we'll move on as we do have, I think, 9 questions available, 9 questions to go over. So I'll give you guys around 3 minutes to complete, and then we'll move on. One more minute. All right, so time is up. Please submit your responses if you have not done so already. It's okay if you have not completed all 3, but please do send what you have. So I am going to switch the slide in 3, 2, 1. Okay, so same idea, but this time now 4 underlined phrases that you need to see if it needs correcting. So I'm going to give you guys 4 minutes to complete, and then we will move on to the next set. All right, if there are no further questions, you may get started. So one more minute. Please take this time to answer as much as you can. If you do not know any of the questions, what I always recommend for you guys to do is it's better to answer all questions than leave some blank. You still have a 1 out of 4 chance, even if you don't know it. So I always encourage you to at least do your best to make your best guess if you're not familiar with what the answer might be. But yes, take the next couple of seconds to submit your responses because time is now up. And I will be moving on to the next slide very soon. So in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So again, same idea. Please complete the following that you see here. And then we will take up the answers. So again, 4 minutes. So one more minute. Take this time to answer as much as you can before the minute is up, and then we'll move on to the answer key. All right, time is up. Please submit your responses. I am going to move on to the next slide in 3, 2, 1. So here is the answer key. Question 1 is B. Question 2 is D. Question 3 is C. Question 4 is A. Question 5 is B. Question 6 is A. 7 is C, 8 is C, 9 is D, 10 is B, and 11 is D. Does anyone have any questions regarding any of the questions that they would personally like me to go over? Kind of review? No? All right, then. The answer key is in the slide. So when you guys receive the slide, you can always cross-reference on your own time. But if you do have any questions, maybe later on in the future, by all means, I always encourage you guys to ask. I'm always available to answer any questions that you may have. So if you do find yourself wanting to know a specific question later on, feel free to contact Dr. Joe Academy to let me know what kind of questions do you have. All right. So let's move on to a writing task that I have prepared for us today. So we're gonna do our quote of the day. So let's see. Nora, can you please read this quote? It's actually an anonymous quote, but very interesting to say the least. So yeah, if you don't mind reading this quote for the class.
Do not wait for the perfect moment. Take the moment and make it perfect.
Awesome. When you read this quote, what were some initial thoughts, understandings? Sorry, Dora, any initial thoughts, understandings?
I think it's like that you have to take matters into your own hands and change the situation to be positive.
Absolutely, yeah. Absolutely. Does anyone have any uh other thoughts about this? Maybe they want to expand on it, of what Dora said? No? All right. So for the task of today, what I want you guys to do is a reflective essay, where you're gonna reflect on a time of your life where you didn't wait for the perfect moment, but instead you made the best of the situation and turned it into something meaningful. So how did it feel in the moment? What were the challenges and what did you learn from it? So with the goal, I would like something a little lengthy, but because of time, I would say try to complete what you can in 10 minutes. But just think of what you want to include, where your goals in your writing should show some self-awareness or personal growth. You want to provide vivid details, as I mentioned before, just to engage a reader. When they read your work, they want to be able to picture it themselves, as well as connect your experience clearly back to the quote. You don't have to quote or include the quote into your work, but at least make it clear that you're referring back to the quote. That being said, does anyone have any questions? No? All right then. So I'm going to give you guys 10 minutes to complete, and then we will take it up. So one more minute. I would take this time to finalize my final sentence and then submit what we have. And then we will get started with the editing. All right. So time is up. Please submit what you have. It's okay if you're not completely finished, but we are going to move on. Now, before we do the editing process, let me introduce what you guys are going to do for homework. So for the reading task that we just did, is with the multiple choice, I have implemented a writing task to go along with it that you will be doing for homework. So let me just submit it here into the chat, and then I'm going to share the screen once again onto which reading task I am referring to. So with the reading task that you see here that is shared, what I want you guys to do is with both passages, passage 1 and passage 2, both authors address the conditions and reforms related to workhouses and women's roles within them. So with that being said, I want you guys to analyze how each author presents their perspective on the necessity and implementation of the reforms, as well as the workhouse conditions, particularly concerning women's work. Then you're going to discuss the similarities and differences in their arguments, tone, and uses of evidence. So this is going to be an analysis of how they presented the information. Additionally, consider how historical context may have influenced their viewpoints, meaning that one passage was written at a certain time, whereas the second passage was written at a different time. So take that into account of how that might have influenced their perspective. Before we move on to editing the quote of the day, does anyone have any questions regarding the homework? No? With the homework as well, that being said, I want you guys to make it as formal as possible, meaning that I want you to avoid using first and second person, active voice, and providing concrete examples of your supporting argument, supporting your argument. So, that being said, that is the homework for this week, and then you will be submitting it into the forum once you are done, and it will be due before next class. Okay, if there are no further questions, I am going to stop sharing, and I am going to go back to the document for us to edit on. Let's see, here we are. So, Alex, let's take a look at yours. So, Alex, you said I always dreaded public speaking. I wanted to give the perfect presentation, flawless. Uh, I wanted to give the perfect presentation with flawless research, perfect delivery, and I would say without error. I kept putting off choosing a topic, waiting for the perfect idea to strike. Of avoid using the word but in the beginning of a sentence. I kept putting off choosing a topic. I would say instead of waiting, a good word to use here is anticipating. For the perfect idea to strike. Then we will say the deadline loomed and I realized I was waiting too long. Instead of saying waiting too long, you can say wasting time. I finally chose a topic that somewhat interested me and started researching everything that there is to know on regarding my first draft was terrible. I'm gonna put a comma here. Far from perfect. I felt really anxious and I almost skipped the presentation altogether. Take this out. I practiced and practiced. So saying I practice and practice, you can say I practice repeatedly. And then also avoid saying really. You can just say I felt anxious and I almost skipped the question altogether. I practiced repeatedly. Even though I stumbled over some words. However, I stumbled over some words. I used visual aids to help me, and I even added a joke to lighten the mood. It wasn't perfect, but I did my best. Surprisingly, I wasn't as nervous as I expected. I got through it and even received some positive comments. More importantly, I proved to myself that I could overcome my fears of public speaking. It showed me that striving for perfection can stop you from doing anything at all. Sometimes simply doing it, even imperfectly, is the most important thing. Awesome. Great finish. With here, Alex, what I would recommend you to do is when you're finished your draft, um, try to go over it once by reading it out loud and see what is currently lacking in your first draft. So then you can notice some of the more common mistakes, and then really focus on the last. Do you have any questions regarding the feedback I just gave you right now?
I'm sorry.
Any questions regarding the feedback I just gave you right now?
Oh, no.
No? Okay. So, Dora, let me quickly try to edit as much as I can with yours. So you said once I was set to go to a concert with my friends, but then it got canceled last minute. Instead of feeling bummed out, we decided to. So I would find a synonym of this. only because bummed out is kind of it's fine, but it makes your response informal. Try finding a better term for this. We decided to just hang out, avoid using just in your, again, that sounds very conversational, informal. So we want to avoid that. We baked cookies, watched movies, and walked around at night. It felt so relaxing. Again, avoid using so. It makes it your response conversational sounding rather than a response. It was a bit of a challenge to turn a huge disappointment into something fun, but we ended up having the best time. We laughed a lot and made some awesome memories. It was the best turnout that could have happened. Okay, so Dora here, the response is good in terms of like incorporating what you are, how you're feeling. It allows the reader to feel a little engaged, but I would strive to find different vocabulary for some of the things and make it a little less conversational sounding, and a little bit more detailed, a little bit more elevated with the terminology that you're using. Any questions regarding that?
No.
No? Okay. So I'm going to stop sharing. That concludes our session for today.